Good day, everyone. I will be continuing the report on personality assessment. As a continuation, I will discuss personality assessment and culture and personality assessment methods, specifically the objective method. For the intended learning outcome, after this report, students should be able to understand personality assessment and culture, determine acculturation and related considerations, define what is objective method, and determine how objective personality assessment methods are. Under personality assessment and culture is just that every day, assessment professionals are routinely called on to evaluate personality and related variables of people from culturally and linguistically diverse populations. Yet, personality assessment, it is anything but routine with children, adolescents, and adults from Native American, Hispanic, Asian, African American, and other cultures that may have been underrepresented in the development, standardization, and interpretation protocol of the measures used. So, it is not just a sequence of actions regularly followed, a fixed program, or performed as part of a regular procedure. Especially with members of culturally and linguistically diverse population, a routine and business as usual approach to psychological testing and assessment is inappropriate. What is required is a professionally trained assessor capable of conducting a meaningful assessment with sensitivity to how culture relates to the behaviors and cognitions being measured. Before any tool of personality assessment can be employed, such as an interview, a test, a protocol for behavioral observation, or a portfolio, and before data derived from an attempt at measurement can be imbued with meaning, the assessor will ideally consider some important issues with regard to assessment of a particular assessee. So many of these issues relate to the level of acculturation, the values, the identity, the worldview, and the language of the assessee. Professional exploration of these areas is capable of yielding not only information necessary as a prerequisite for formal personality assessment, but a wealth of personality-related information in its own right. So now let's discuss the issues mentioned. First one is acculturation. Acculturation is an ongoing process by which an individual's thoughts, behaviors, values, worldview, and identity develop in relation to the general thinking, behavior, customs, and values of a particular cultural group. Now, the process of acculturation, it begins at birth, at a time at which the newborn infant's family or caretakers serve as agents of culture. For the years to come, other family members, the teachers, the peers around, from the books, films, theaters, newspapers, television, radio programs, and other media serves as an agent for acculturation. Now, through the process of acculturation, an individual develops culturally accepted ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving. Now, there are several tests and questionnaires that have been developed to yield insights regarding the assessee's level of acculturation to their native culture or the dominant culture. A sampling of these measures is presented in this table. So, for example, let's see. In the Asian target population, we have a reference source from Kim and Companions, or Kim et al. In year 1999 that provided insights on acculturation, acculturation theory rather, and instrumentation that could be used in Asian population. So as you survey this list, keep in mind that the amount of psychometric research done on these instruments varies. So some of these instruments may be little more than content valid. In such cases, you have to let the buyer beware. And should you wish to use any of these measures, you may wish to look up more information about it in a resource such as the Mental Measurements Yearbook. So perhaps the most appropriate use of many of these tests would be to derive hypotheses for future testing by means of other tools of assessment. Now, unless compelling evidence exists to attest to the use of a particular instrument with members of a specific population, the data derived from any of these tests and questionnaires should not be used alone to make selection, treatment, placement, or other momentous decisions. Now, there is also a number of important questions regarding acculturation and related variables that can be raised with regard to assessees from culturally diverse populations. Many general types of interview questions may yield rich insights regarding the overlapping areas of acculturation, the values, worldview, and identity. A sampling of such questions is presented in this table. Now, these questions, you may ask some or all of these questions to someone you know who happens to be in the process of acculturation. But before doing so, there are a few things you should remember. First thing is that keep in mind the critical importance of rapport when conducting an interview. In our chosen field, we are taught to always establish rapport first to build relationship with our participants, clients, or to someone whom we are talking. Now, the second one is that remember to be sensitive to cultural differences in readiness to engage in self-disclosure about family or other matters that may be perceived as too personal to discuss with a stranger or otherwise. The third one is that be ready and be able to be ready and able to change the wording of these questions should you need to facilitate the assessee's understanding of them or to change the order of these questions should an assessee answer more than one question in the same response. So, the language of the assessee is sometimes a factor where you have to change a word, and also the assessee's culture where you have to change some of the words that are culture appropriate, as some words may mean or imply different in our culture and their culture. So the fourth one is that listen carefully. Listen carefully and do not hesitate to probe for more information if you perceive value in doing so. And finally, keep in mind that the relevance of each of these questions will vary with the background and unique socialization experiences of each assessee. So, one of the question could be relevant to one assessee, but not so much for the other. Intimately entwined with acculturation is the learning of values. Values. What is value? The values are that which an individual prizes or the ideals an individual believes in. There is an early systematic treatment of the subject of values, which came in a book entitled Types of Men by Spranger in year 1928. It listed different types of people based on whether they valued things like the truth, practicality, and power. So, a number of other systems for listing and categorizing values were soon published in year 1973 and distinguished between instrumental and terminal values. Instrumental values. Instrumental values are guiding principles to help one attain some objective. Example of these are honesty, imagination, ambition, and cheerfulness. On the other hand, terminal values are guiding principles and a mode of behavior that is an endpoint objective. Examples are a comfortable life, an exciting life, a sense of accomplishment, and self-respect. So in short, Instrumental values are the means by which we achieve our end goals, while terminal values are defined as our end goals. So lastly, there are other value categorization systems that focus on values in specific contexts, such as employment settings. So values such as financial reward, job security, or prestige may figure prominently in decisions regarding occupational choice and employment or feelings of job satisfaction. Also intimately tied to the concept of acculturation is the concept of personal identity. Identity in this context may be defined as a set of cognitive and behavioral characteristics by which individuals define themselves as members of a particular group. So, stated simply, identity refers to one's sense of self. Under identity is identification. It is defined by Levine and Padilla in 1980 as a process by which an individual assumes a pattern of behavior characteristics of other people and referred to it as one of the central issues that ethnic minority groups must deal with. Echoing this sentiment, Zuniga in year 1988 suggested that a question such as, what do you call yourself when asked about your ethnicity? It might be used as an icebreaker when assessing identification. So, you identified yourself as a member of your ethnicity. Another key culture-related personality variable concerns how an assessee tends to view the world. So, as its name implies, the worldview is the unique way people interpret and make sense of their perceptions as a consequence of their learning experiences, cultural background, and related variables. In layman's term, worldview has been defined as a person's perception of his or her relationship with the world. More specifically, worldview is a byproduct of the way in which a person is socialized to perceive, think, feel, and experience the world. So our overview of personality, it begins with a consideration of some superficial lay perspectives on this complex subject. Now, we consider more personal, non-observable elements of personality in the form of constructs such as worldview, identification, values, and acculturation to define personality. So in the next topic, we're going to continue to broaden our perspective regarding tools that may be used to better understand and effectively assess personality. There are many diverse tools that are available for psychologists and others interested in exploring differences between people on this and other aspects. In this juncture, we look at some of the instruments for assessing personality, such as projective methods and behavioral approaches. We begin with procedures that are often classified as objective in nature. So we are going to focus on my part, the objective method. So projective methods will be discussed later by one of my group mates. Now let us define objective methods of personality assessment. It characteristically contains short answer items for which the assessee's task is to select one response from the two or more provided. It is usually administered by paper and pencil means or by computer, and the scoring is done according to set procedures involving little judgment on the part of the scorer. So as with test of ability, the objective methods of personality assessment may include items written in a multiple choice, true or false, or matching format. A response on an objective personality test is scored with reference to either the personality characteristic being measured or the validity of the respondent's pattern of responses. For example, On a personality test where a true response is deemed indicative of the presence of a particular trait, a number of true responses to true or false items will be interpreted with reference to the presumed strength of the trait in the test taker. So if the respondent has also responded true to items indicative of the absence of the trait, as well as to items rarely endorsed as such by the test takers, then the validity of the protocol will be called into question. It will be questionable. The most frequently used objective test for personality is the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, or MMPI. It was published by Hathaway and McKinley in 1943 and revised in 1951, and it is designed for ages 16 and over and contains 566 items to be answered yes or no. It may be administered to an individual or group, and the answer sheets can be hand or machine scored. The respondent is asked to read each question and decide what is true or false as applied to him or her, and then to mark that response on the answer sheet. Now the question: how objective are objective methods of personality assessment? So, although objective personality test items share many of the characteristics with objective measures of ability, we hasten to add that the adjective objective is something of a misnomer or inaccurate when applied to personality testing and assessment. With reference to short answer items on ability tests, the term objective gained favor because all items contained only one correct response. Scoring was dispassionate and objective, but unlike objective ability test, the objective personality test typically contain no one correct answer. So the answer is not just one. Rather, the selection of a particular choice from multiple choice items provide information relevant to something about the test taker, such as the presence, absence, or strength of a personality-related variable. Yes, the scoring of such tests can still be dispassionate and objective. However, the objectivity of the score derived from an objective test of personality can be a matter of debate. Consider, for example, a personality test written in an objective test format, designed to detect the existence of an unresolved Oedipal conflict. The extent to which these test results will be viewed as objective is inextricably linked to one's views about the validity of psychoanalytic theory, and more specifically the construct Oedipal conflict. Another issue related to the use of the adjective objective with personality test concerns self-report and the distinct lack of objectivity that can be associated with self-report. So, test takers self-reports of what they like or dislike, what they agree or disagree with, what they do or do not do, and so forth can be anything but objective. For many reasons, they can attempt to manage a desired impression by faking good or faking bad. Now, the answer to the question, how objective are objective methods of personality assessment? So, objective personality tests are objective in the sense that they employ a short answer, typically multiple choice format, one that provides little room for discretion in terms of scoring. So, to describe a personality test as objective serves to distinguish it from a projective and other measurement methods rather than to impart information about the reality, tangibility, or objectivity of scores derived from it. For the other projective method, and behavioral approaches, it will be discussed after this. So thank you for listening. That would be all. Thank you.